that kind of publicity. Well, that's the kind of publicity that Trump exactly wants.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. See, I started the recording too because it's already, I don't want to wait anymore anyway, and the conversation was getting too good. Hey everyone, this is Vicente Cruz, Oakland Greens event and fundraising coordinator, and welcome to the August public general meeting. For once, the last couple of months have been really, really jam-packed. We'll see how the discussion goes, but this one actually has a potential to be really, really quick. We have our discussion items, state-sponsored progressive social media influencers, ending of the Late Show, the troops in DC, Green Party member removed from Parliament in New Zealand, and then the first ICE or some sort of raids that are happening in Oakland. We have a report backs and talks from the last county meeting. We have our August movie night coming up week after. And then if I remember, the Treasury Report, social media outreach, and then announcements, and then we're out. So as we were saying before, Orlando, you were about to go, please.
Yeah, I was going to say, a lot of people would put more emphasis on Trump and not focus on what we got to do locally. So it's like they're waiting for him to say some rhetoric, and then everybody want to jump. But like you said, Vicente, we don't really got neighbors no more. So if everybody not coming together and they keep waiting for him, we been gonna get wiped out because it's not him doing this. The people that works in these departments that's doing it. You know, they've been the police and the feds before Trump was in office. So that was their agenda anyway.
Right.
He's just a butler.
Yes, absolutely. And you know, part of it is too, it's like the movie, it's a catch-22, because if we keep just recording, they're still rounding up the people. If we actually violently fight back, then it gives them the excuse to declare martial law, right? They go, look, right, see, all these unruly citizens need to be quelled, right? Because even right now, you know, and the facts don't matter anymore. So, which I think is another reason why, which I have been using again in all of my arguments doing, is, you know, well, I would say new, but I've always been kind of a fuck you anyway, especially when they say no and oh, and because it's such a headache. It's like, well, what is the alternative? Then you're telling me what I hear you say to me is that you're okay with the fucking extinction, right? And you're okay with the fascism. You're okay with the fascist state, right? No matter whether it fucking affects you or not, you're okay with it. And then I don't want to hear any bullshit. Then don't write any more books. I don't want to fucking see you say it because you've already fucking crossed that line already, right? You're 35, fucking college graduate. You've already written 2 books, right? Fucking, you're already been an organizer already of locally stuff. It's like it's time to get on that. Well, only it goes back to the belief, which is part of the Oakland Greens as well. If you're not on the tribal council, you can't make the decisions for the tribe. So we need the slates of candidates for school board and city council and mayor. But, you know, and it's already at least once started working because this is going way back, like 2012, when Don McClay, no shout out, and I went to Richmond, and we had dinner with Gail a bunch of times right after she had won. And she talked about the stress of it and how mad it was on her husband and all that stuff too. But when it came down to the actual main course of it all, and you know, just asking, is like, well, how did you start to restore the communication and trust between the police and the community, right? From the slave catchers to the regular people. Well, it was easy. She said, first, well, I fired the police chief. The first thing she did was fire the police chief and hired someone that she trusted and that was, you know, an idea with her vision for what Richmond was going to be. And then he just got rid of, you know, fucking, you know, all those people that we were talking before that were already the Proud Boys and the MAGA folks before that motherfucker even got in office. You know, you got to go. You got to go. And it slipped a little bit, but, you know, that, and we had that fucking equation back in 2010. Again, Greens as well. Fucking same old thing, man, right? It's not that hard. It's, again, trying to convince the masses. And I would have figured we were slow to it. We could have hit the high schools and stuff a lot more, right? I could have not even been disheartened after, you know, you put in applications and they turn you down after 2 or 3. You could have just kept on hitting it. Or I could have been more fuck you back then and just went out with the bullhorn and just stood in for the fucking Oakland Tech and was like, what are you gonna do? You know, like, and told me to shut up. Good luck. You know. But anyway, so let's go in order. Did anyone you saw? Did anyone look at the video before? About no.
What's the topic again? What is it again?
State-sponsored progressive social media influencers.
Oh, I think I think I looked at the information. I think I tuned in for a minute or two, and found out what it was about. Yeah.
I confess I didn't have a chance to look. I shouldn't say have. I'm sure.
That was in it was the UK, right? It was in the UK.
Yes. Yep.
The video, yeah. Yeah, I think it's interesting because, people always say that it's the young people that are being so influenced by social media, and usually the lawmakers are of a different generation. In fact, some lawmakers are of 2 or 3 generations ago. So yeah, I think it's a really interesting idea. It's kind of like in some ways parallel to, remember when California passed some kind of law saying they required not only warning labels on cigarette packs, but also they required advertising. And so you started seeing all kinds of ads about, why smoking causes cancer and what you can do about it, and programs to help you get off of smoking. So I guess this is just like the modern day equivalent of the government program to get people to stop smoking.
Right.
This is a warning. Never more than 1 cup of this natural
for those who
for
didn't.
You beautiful bastards, you're watching the Philip Franco show. You got a lot.
But I don't know. I mean, I didn't have the chance to go through the whole video, and I don't even know if the whole video gave details about how they figure out what kind of messages they're going to put out, and who's responsible for that. Because to me, that's the bottom line is, if you don't have people that are responsible that are putting out the messages, then things can backfire. So. Oh, you're going to pull it up? All right.
Wants to create anti-Andrew Tate influencers. And this apparently is part of a much broader plan to combat misogyny in schools that the party would introduce if it wins the next election. And actually, regarding all this, you had Bridget Phillipson, the shadow education secretary, doing an interview with The Guardian, saying Labor wants schools to develop role models who can be a powerful counterbalance to figures like Tate. And as far as how this would work, Labor would send what they call regional improvement teams to schools to introduce a peer-to-peer mentoring program. And places like The Telegraph explaining that under the program, older boys would be trained to coach and work with younger students. And Phillipson telling The Guardian that she'd like to see some of these mentors become leaders in their schools and then even online influencers. Explaining, I would hope that the young male mentors involved would then also be able to share their experiences more widely to kind of shift the discussion around of what it is to be growing up as a young man today in modern Britain. And adding, I do think it is incredibly important that if we are going to tackle misogyny in our schools and in wider society, then we need to start making progress with children and young people. And adding that it just can't be on girls and women to call out misogyny and harassment when they see it. But it's actually more powerful if men speak out too if they say it's wrong. And saying that with the online influence of people like Tate, that we need to teach young people to be critical of what they see online, how to spot disinformation or other bad actors. And actually, so far, it looks like the schools have been receptive to this, with the General Secretary of the National Education Union telling The Guardian that schools would welcome this support and saying that this is actually an overwhelming and constantly changing issue. And while, of course, there's been a lot of focus on like the anti-Tate aspect of all this, it is important to know this is actually just part of a much bigger effort, with the Labor Party putting out a petition saying that it plans to tackle misogyny in education by helping schools work together to establish best practices, embed digital literacy in the curriculum, make sure all schools have access to mental health counseling, and empower the Office for Standards in Education to conduct annual safeguarding checks. And with this, arguing, quote, under the Tories, there have been shocking reports of sexual harassment in schools by male pupils influenced by misogyny spread online. Misogynistic content is having a lasting and damaging impact on boys and young men, and it makes pupils feel unsafe in schools. And with all this, you have many politicians pointing to the fact that mentions of sexual harassment and abuse have risen over the last several years in reports from the Office of Standards in Education. The Telegraph also pointing to other research finding that 70% of teachers saw a rise in sexist language in the classroom over the last last year, and a similar amount of boys encountering posts promoting misogyny. Now, as far as like if any of this can even remotely be successful, it's going to come down to what this actually looks like. Like as far as the mentor, right? How natural or organic will this be? Because I mean, kids can tell when things are just forced on them. It can feel lame and stupid and push people even further away. Right? Obviously not like a one-to-one comparison, but I think of past failures like the old DARE program. And like, I wonder, does this take on a situation where you have like an older student sitting down with a 10-year-old and they're like, be nice to girls or else. Being fake doesn't work, scaremongering doesn't work, exaggerating's not gonna work, nor should it. But I don't know, it feels like if there was anything that like might actually work, is if the morals or the anti-misogyny stuff was still there, but secondary. Because I think there are a lot of toxic influencers out there that, I mean, to their credit, one of the reasons they've been able to thrive so much is that they've co-opted actually beneficial things for you. And then in addition to that, they sneak in toxic, horrible bullshit, and often for their own financial gain. But you know, it's shit like trying to be a self-starter, getting in shape, trying to be the best version of yourself. Well, then also, you know, not just treating women as things or like things that only or primarily have value to be a vessel for a baby of a high value man. But, you know, we'll see how things play out. And the way things normally play out is that there's a pendulum swing back and
One thing about it too is as we talk about, and that was the Philip DeFranco show. Total shout out, great independent journalist. If you haven't watched his deep dives into news, he's actually does like almost 3 a day, I think, because he has a podcast now as well too. But really, really good. Anyway, that in their legislation it says train, and it's still kind of an indoctrination as opposed to, why don't we just educate people to be better people, to critically think for themselves, and then I think naturally you get that moral code, right? So just how to do language on that stuff too. But other than that, so what do y'all think about that? Trying to.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I try to listen fairly carefully and not be overly judgmental as to what we might call street language versus, really harmful intent. And not to say Alameda is such an exception, but there are always, and even now, like banners and signs, support our trans, brothers and sisters, all sorts of. Now that doesn't mean it prevents it, but it's a very conscious effort. I'll tell you, and this is not exactly on this subject, but one of the things that has impressed me as a generational issue is Palestine. And no matter how much bullshit the the media puts out or ignores often, like if I wear a Palestine T-shirt to school, countless students come up and say, "That's right, we stand with Palestine." Now that's not coming from the media, so it has become a generational issue. The way, I'm not saying it's exactly the way the civil rights movement or anti-Vietnam War movement were, but it's a way of saying this is what we believe. And I was hoping that would take on. It took off for a while on climate justice. I don't see it as much now. But there are issues that become generational issues. So I don't know. I mean, I think it would be good to try. There's supposed to be, isn't there? I don't know what Greg was saying, but we're supposed to be guidelines about social media in the schools. I'm not saying that's necessarily the answer, but in terms of content. But anyway,
I definitely think that now, even in ethnic studies, the social media is its own world and its own group, and then we should be having some sort of educational syllabus on it, because the kids are on all the time, and it's like you need to learn how to negotiate that, because it's definitely still in. I'm definitely of the idea that it's more negative than positive, right? I mean, you see what it does to, because everybody is photoshopped and filtered, right? Nobody's real, right? And then you lower your self-esteem, which also makes for not a healthy community too, right? Leads to a lot of other things and things like that too. Again, not critically thinking. I do think it has to come from the education system at this point, because we're combating a fascist capitalist system, right? That's been going on. None of this is new, right?
It also shows how much the United States has changed.
Well, yeah. Well, it's been going that way for a long time, and
yes.
again, it's just a toot of our own horn. But the Green Party, at least here in Alameda County and the Oakland Greens, been saying this shit since 2010.
Yes.
That the entire planet is starting to shift.
Yes.
Fascism, the pendulum is starting to swing the other way, and we're not prepared, and we're not prepared, and well, here it is, and guess what? We're not prepared. I do hate being right. And but it's like, but it's here now, and how are you going to navigate the river that is here, right? Now we're in the rapids. How are we going to do it? So, we've taken, the Green Party here has taken, again, a more of electoral politics and getting out to rallies and telling people at rallies, at least again from the Oakland Greens perspective, that these should all be teach-ins, every last fucking one of them.
Could you speak a little louder?
Yeah, I can. I was not.
Probably it's me.
Normal voice,
I'm not hearing.
I will. And so I still think, again, that we should have some sort of education within the system, right? But again, first we have to get the people in office so we can have an education system that we really think would be, because we need to change. We need new systems, right? It's not even about tweaking what we have. What we're talking about, and this is for the 10 people that are going to watch this on YouTube, is that we want to completely dismantle the systems the way they are and start anew, right? And part of that process is, again, the Green Party platforms too, no corporate money in politics. Fucking, I'm an anarchist. I think take any private money out of fucking politics altogether, public fund that as well, but your tax dollars come back to you, and those services aren't just your roads and disaster relief and things like that, but it's your education system, it's your water supply, right? It's your sustainable farming, healthy food in your neighborhoods, and having it be able to get it in every neighborhood. So I think, and also again, back to the topic, is part of that education system now is how do you navigate, the social media world as well, because you have your in real life friends, which are starting to dwindle because of social media, and now you're in this platform where you don't really know who you're talking to on the other end, unless you knew them already. Any more on that particular one? Like I said, that's without discussion, moving on, I could just go longer. So the next one is, as we all know too, that it seems, and to put it actually in the words of Stephen Colbert too, big fat bribe. Paramount, just decided to not fire Stephen Colbert. We're going to just end the Late Show altogether. And I guess, so part of this too is, do you think that's also going to be a trend? Like, because, he's also calling for Fallon and Kimmel and all them to get the axe as well. Do these corporations, still, because they still make money anyway, and get rid of them? And now we're adding on top of where life is imitating art, we find ourselves living in V for Vendetta, as far as like the media and things.
Well, on a related, slightly different note, I see that Trump announced who was going to be honored at the Kennedy Center. They haven't yet tried to rename the Kennedy Center. I'm sure they are going to.
No, they put up, there was a resolution in Congress, on the House.
And so you wonder who's going to show up on these things. And of course, since Trump claimed that he tried to get somebody else to MC, but nobody would, so now, of course, he's going to MC himself. It's a surreal world. I mean,
right, absolutely. Like it's amazing. Like, and I admit too that at least in my teens and probably early 20s, I never thought we would, get there. And I obviously wasn't a student of history back then. Realize that, like, you get back to Madison Square Garden in the 30s and see how many fucking actual swastika wearing Nazis were sitting up there, talking about putting
Right.
oven right in New York City. Which you'd never really see that shit now. You try that too. But even just recently, there were actual swastika Nazis in Indianapolis, the capital of Indiana.
Right.
Oh. Hold on a second.
We lost you.
And I'll still have to mute it until my neighbor drives away.
Mhm.
But if I can jump in while you're still fixing, I think there was a special situation with Paramount. They were engaged in some merger. They were going to merge with another billion-dollar
Right.
company, and so that added a lot of pressure for them to cave into everything. So I think with a lot of other media companies, if they're not in the direct financial incentive to bow over to Trump, maybe, just maybe, they might, not be quite so obedient to every little whim that he does.
So they don't have actual legislation on his desk for him to sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. Yes, that's exactly what it wasn't just the 16 million, but the bribe was that they'll end the Late Show and get Stephen off the air if you sign the legislation, which he did. Like it's not even it's brazenly obvious now. Like they don't even try to hide it or anything anymore, right? Because they announced it the next day he signed the fucking literally. Like with what? Fucking great. And nobody well, I always make that joke too, right? Sipping our Starbucks right into fascism.
Well, it's a kind of transactional society that it's not like even as much as we can denounce and condemn the Nazis. There was some kind of social ethos. It was a horrible one that they wanted people to accept. There's no social ethos with Trump.
Right.
It's like.
Well, and like Orlando said too, like he's a puppet. Like Trump, is again probably didn't want to give credence to it. That's not the motherfuckers I worry about. Stephen Miller, fucking Gorka, fucking right, the idiots, right? They don't bother me other than the fact that, oh my gosh, like what bothers me more about that is that I find myself in the same position as John Adams, and I don't think everybody deserves the fucking vote. I don't. Fucking, that's not the Green Party stance. That's like an individual, me. You said they're anarchists. No, you fucking idiot. You don't get to decide fucking who is running the fucking police force and the sanitation department and the military. No. You know why? Because you can't even name the 3 branches of government, you fucking twat. The fuck is wrong with you? Don't you tell me that, right? And that's, conversations I, fucking have people. I'm like, no, you don't. You just, no, I don't. And that's probably why it's good I'm not running things. Because motherfuckers definitely would not. Yeah. Anyway, so like I'm fond of saying that. And also another thing, again, trying to have, living in a new fascist world and just life balance. I was at a circus last night, and I, just randomly, we cut to, it's like, oh, and this too, I am doing while in fashion. Like, if you ever wondered what you would, people say, what you would do during fashion? What'd you do in Nazi Germany if all that stuff was happening? Like, whatever you're doing. It's like, well, now we're living in a, fascist fucking country, and whatever we're doing it under fascism, right? And yeah, and just how do you? It's just a fucking mind fuck completely, right? I mean, we've all made like some decisions, again, electoral politics, things like that, and I do a lot of that. I do a lot of that. But yeah, so that was interesting though. Okay, anything else on that one too? And again, let's to summarize that one is that we're probably still safe. It's still just a baby step because the other media companies don't have, any legislation up there. And honestly too, definitely their news organizations aren't that fucking harsh, right? And let's get this on the fucking record too. You don't hear Fallon or Kimmel talk about people who are, doing really well under the current system. You don't hear them calling for a general strike or anything, reporting on any of that shit ever. Never, ever, ever. Neither Colbert either, or Jon Stewart, or Amy Goodman, right? Not a one. Although, I was on, and we could, Troops in DC is going to be another good one conversation. Leslie Jones from Saturday Night Live goes live on Instagram quite a bit. She watches TV shows, a lot of times RuPaul's Drag Race, which I don't like, so I don't watch. But anyway, before that, she was just sitting there talking, and someone brought up about Jon Stewart running for president, and she was down with, she was, I had to talk to that motherfucker, and went on kind of a rant for like 10, 15 minutes about, Jon Stewart might be a good, he most likely won't do it, but would be a great candidate, right? But I think he's too old too. It's like, we need somebody younger, need somebody to step up. And I could, because I think that's a good idea. Like, again, because of social media, trying to find some,
Someone has a lot
how
of
smart is
visibility.
Taylor Swift? I don't know the fucking woman, so I can't, get, but if she ran, she'd probably win, right? Yeah, I don't know. Anyway. With that, we're moving on. So, what are people's thoughts on troops in DC? We kind of talked about it before we started the recording, which was actually what prompted me to, is that the administration, see, I didn't say the name, right? Is pulling like Proud Boys out of like police forces from around the country and centralizing them into DC into one force, which I think is to just make sure that they're never leaving office. The administration wants to never leave. I'm also, I hope that I am not, ancestors fucking smack me. I'm not sure we have a midterm election. I think something happens in the next, 16 months? Is that about right, Greg? You probably know that off the top of your head more than me. Or is Greg frozen? I think he's frozen. Anyway.
Well, I'm not ready to say they're going to truck the elections, because to me, this move in Texas is more a move of desperation, not a move of strength. And there are congressmen who are afraid to go home.
Are they afraid, or is it? I think it's a tactic, right? Like they're trying.
No, I'm not talking about Texas.
I get it.
Talking
Republicans are afraid. They're not having
guy who he's way up in. Greg probably knows his name, but up in the Northeast in California, and he ventured. Yeah, he ventured home, and they drove him out of a meeting. As a congressman, and this is in a district that voted for Trump overwhelmingly. It's not like, I think they're worried. I'm not saying they won't try to. They'll try all sorts of things, just as they did in 2020. But I don't think it's going to be easy. I mean, partly it's that the divide is so strong in so many areas that in a way it's we're like back in the late 1850s, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying we should be in any way saying, well, let's put all our hopes in the 2026 election. Far from it.
No, right.
But I think the even to talk about something I know fairly well, in the trade union bureaucracy, not that they're giving up, their allegiance to the Democrats for most of them, but now they're starting to get ready for Plan B. That doesn't work. So I've been very involved, as I think in this network, Mayday Strong. Mayday Strong strategy is to prepare for massive work stoppages. It may not be national at one point, it may be regional, statewide, sectoral, but to have national work stoppages next Mayday. Not Sean Fain from the auto workers talking about 2028. It was no, we can't wait till then. And as much as we know, the bureaucrats are slippery and slutty. The fact that they're even some of them, Liz Schuler, head of the AFL-CIO, the heads of the two teacher unions and so forth, and they're actually putting resources in it. They're not just paying lip service. It is like, well, at the very least, how do we get some response from the Democrats? Because it's been so pathetic, that that people realize. I'm not saying they're ready for a totally new party at this point, but you're seeing signs, and it's not just the numbers coming out for the indivisible thing. I think you're seeing signs of the idea that they have to go beyond electoralism. So we'll see.
Yeah, but I think, yes, definitely, I don't think anyone's putting any faith in midterm elections, for anything, because even in the two-party system alone, the Democrats ain't doing shit, man. They ain't got no ovaries whatsoever. The motherfuckers are so weak. But what I fear is that he's going to have a military presence around D.C., and now I'm barricaded in. You make me leave, right? That he just, we don't, it's all of a sudden I always, you know how much of a fucking cinema buff I am. So it's like, it's Star Wars, right? Fucking Palpatine just eliminates the Senate altogether, right? Just fucking, you have no more power because I have this whole, galactic fucking army, army of the Republic around me. And then he just doesn't leave DC. He says, no, if I could trust the elections, I would, but we can't. It's also, no, I need to stay in power. And, we have the military now in DC. We're going to take back our country. And then also we have the civil unrest around the country because the fucking, the actual MAGA folks now start fighting all those so-called libtards and shit like that. But guess what? We got guns too. So now you've got civilians fighting civilians. Again, it's not the Civil War the way we're come to expect it in fucking History Channel and shit. It's not even going to be a war like World War II or even Vietnam, right? It's going to be neighborhoods, and it's complete chaos, right? The exact fucking answer to the equation of capitalism. Right?
It's like you say, they got the Senate in the House, so they passing bills and stuff that the average person ain't even paying attention because they looking at the big picture. They gonna slide something like you say, the syntax. Look, I'm gonna militarize all this. There's only gonna be one more president. There ain't gonna be nobody else. You got people from all over the country. So us as Americans that's here, that 400-year stuff is over with now because now people talking about thousands of years. So you got a lot of people from Palestine that's over here, and a lot of people from the Middle East. Their issues is top priority. So a lot of us with the American issues is invalid.
Right. Well, and of course and I think Bill was kind of saying it as well. So it's kind of like a piggyback that all of the struggle of the Palestinians is definitely ties into the struggle of the African diaspora person, right? The sons and descendants of the transatlantic slave trade, and which ties into the same shit that they did to the Japanese here in the internment camps and the Chinese during the railroads, and just it's all one. And when we figure that out, that we have like Immortal Technique said it too, right? That when actual even the MAGA folks, as far as on an economic level, have way more in common with us, the working people, than they do with fucking anyone in the administration or Elon Musk or any of these fools, right? No, they don't give a fuck about them. They wouldn't let them come in and clean their fucking bathroom, right? Wouldn't let them be their fucking maid. So, but until we can figure out a way to show them that, and this is again, it's part of the long history system, right? They uneducated everybody, right? They uneducated everybody. Here's the approach we're going to take for, again, the descendants of the transatlantic slave trade. Here's the fucking ones we're going to do for the colonizers of Spain. Here's the ones we're going to do for the colonizers of Italy. Here we're going to do for what we consider now the fucking lighter skinned Jewish people, right? Here, like all these, it's all fucking under the same fucking umbrella. Good stop there. Take a breath. Anything else? It's crazy. Fucking crazy. But fuck that, man. I got a big mouth. They can't make me shut up. That's fucking, that's, yeah. So probably you didn't know, but sort of the same thing that happens up here too, how the alternative political parties, even in representational governments too, are targeted in the Parliament New Zealand. And it wasn't the woman who did the haka over there. This is someone else just who was condemning sort of the fascist legislation as they're trying to push that in New Zealand, which good luck with that. But they did end up actually like have the security come in and remove them for harsh language or whatever the fuck they use over there at that time too. I can't remember what the actual one was over in New Zealand. But yes, so it was, that was just a little statement on that one too. You should look it up. It's on YouTube, all over the place. Also Instagram as well. Orlando, I know you and I are on IG a lot.
Yes.
And then also, so we had, and the effect of whatever county fucking tanks or, federal tanks that had rolled down Fruitvale the other day. Normally, basically all it did was that it forced a lot of people to not bring their pop-ups out because just, again, sort of like the fear and intimidation, right? And having conversations with people too, that have the idea that they think that the fascists just want us all to die, not, clear off the Social Security, fucking, all we need is the labor force prisoners, and everybody else, fuck you, right? We don't want you anymore, right? Which would a very bleak, but you're good, but that's my family. So that is like the idea too. I don't know if that's the case too. I still think, again, they still need consumers, right, to fill up this form of capitalism, right? So they can't just have, right, the slave prison population for all their labor now. But that's what we think too, is that, oh, they're rounding up everybody and they're going to stop deporting them, but they're going to keep them in concentration camps like the one in Florida or Georgia, wherever it's Florida, it's the Everglades, and then put them right back out in the fields. But now we're not paying you anything.
Yes.
Right? Because you're prisoners, the only legal slave force still in America written down as legislation, as laws. So it's like, wow, it's coming to that. And then anybody that goes to jail, the undesirables, as they would call them, right? The philosophers, the educators, the musicians, anyone on the other side of their political, all of, Booker, AOC, Bernie, Bernie out there picking lettuce. Use this for soup. Leek soup. Never liked it. So yeah, that's what we're thinking. Moving on again. Were you at the county meeting? It was it was very, very quick, right? Orlando, wasn't it?
Yep. Yep. You talking about for this Sunday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last one and all that stuff too. It really wasn't one, because I know I got the email from Greg to facilitate next month's meeting instead, because this one wasn't going to be anything, so it doesn't happen. I think too.
Yeah. I went to the Bushware event. He had an event, a private event in Oakland.
How was it?
Oh, it was lovely. It was nice. It's
He's
small
pretty popular,
gathering.
isn't he? He seems like he's got some momentum going.
Yeah,
Butch, you come in?
Yeah, Bushware.
Yeah.
He had a he used to rap back in the day.
Oh,
Yeah,
really? I didn't know that.
yeah.
I remember. I think he has poetry.
Yeah.
Too. But do you think that he is probably the Green Party's most popular candidate for governor since Kamea?
Yeah.
Forever.
Yes.
Yeah.
His move. I've been working with him, and
Yeah.
he been very. He's like one of those type of persons that's just straight up. Like, look, this is how the movement is going to go. But it's not him. He has so many people around him. Like I text you, so many people excited and mobilized. It's just sad, and unfortunately, that us locally, it's not catching this wave of education.
Right.
As how to be. Like I said, I love the Palestine movement. I'm learning so much by being with real people that's really been there, people that's fighting the streets,
Right.
not people just social media. And he's bringing a lot, man. I respect him a lot, man, and I appreciate it.
Yeah. For the two people that have watched this on YouTube, then we're really sharing it a lot on IG.
Yeah.
So I've been helping because actually, for whatever reason, the Oakland Greens IG has actually more of an international presence than locally. Most of the people that chat with me and talk and look our stories and things like that too, or it's like the Green parties in England, New Zealand, and things like that, stuff like that too. And then of course we also have a big connection, one that's across all of the my accounts too, with the murdered, missing, and indigenous people movement as well. But so we share a lot of Butch Ware stuff, and
but see, that's why I appreciate you too, Sensei, because
absolutely
a lot of your followers, because I follow you anyway, but
right.
The doors for us as Greens to not just think locally, even though I'm on a national.
That all happened during the pandemic.
Yes, and I'm dealing with national folks, so my friends be like, "Hey man, why you ain't doing them locally?" I'm like, "Man, you know what's going on the other side of the world."
Right. Well, because they've already done it successfully.
Yeah.
Right? New Zealand has like parliament and prime ministers and all these things that are Green Party members. England, Ireland too.
Well, if you have proportional representation, it makes
a big difference. Right. It makes it a lot easier for you to get, absolutely. And able for you to gain ground as well. Absolutely. Because everybody gets to hear your voice and message and stuff as well. Yep, absolutely.
A couple of my friends went in New England, they went back to back. So it was just showing that the Greens might be over here, might seem like they're not doing that, but it's Greens all over the country. They moving.
Right.
They
And I think it's
mobilize.
also because I lived in Australia because
Mhm.
I automatically had started, connecting to Green Party people who were, had Instagram pages already who were in Australia, and it just, then, it flows, right?
Yeah.
Other suggestions throw up the algorithm, listens, excuse me, and does that stuff too. So it was, yeah, but it's really, really good, and I'm glad to. I thought he was the most popular since Command.
Yes.
Feels like it that way. I've only been to one event, but it had that energy.
Yeah. He got a lot of young folks. He got a lot of educated young folks.
He's not that old either, is he?
No, he's
50s?
might be probably
Yeah.
about 50.
Yeah, I say he's not as I'm older than he is.
Yeah.
Anything else?
We're gonna vote for Bill for mayor of Oakland next term. He
That-
gonna be our next mayor.
Yeah. The next one is that we have movie night coming up next week. And again, for the 25 people that will watch this on YouTube, this movie is definitely not for young people, not for any adult kind of, but it's really, really violent. It is, and graphically so. This is about right after World War One. It's a movie from Finland. Think of it as some of the revenge fantasies like Django and Inglorious Bastards, but the violence is more realistic. It's not like comically bloody like Quentin Tarantino. It's way more realistic.
Remind me what the film is again.
SASU, a World War One veteran, goes back to his land and discovers that it's tons and tons of gold, and then the last remaining Nazis come and try to steal it from him.
Wow.
And that doesn't happen.
Hmm.
And then they tie in a group of like Valkyries, women who were sex trafficked, who are also killing Nazis. And you know me, especially at this time of the world, nothing I like more than fucking Nazis dying. It brings me joy. It brings me much joy. And then the only other thing too that's important about that too is hopefully, again, a verbal commitment. I had mentioned in the last month's meeting that I'm thinking that physically, as far as setting up the equipment, 2 or 3 years tops. But from a member of my family, a young member who is also doing and into technical theater, they're going to come and start being trained to set up so we can continue the movie nights for many, many years to come.
Good.
Yeah.
Great.
That was fucking great too. So I just have to stay.
I'm so sorry. It's tough. I've explained many times to get there.
If you need rides, you should let us know, man. We can always find you a ride.
Okay. Well,
If that's the issue, if the ride is an issue, we can find you a ride.
Okay. So let me see. What's the date for our next one then?
It is the next Sunday. It's the 31st. The last
Okay,
Sunday.
let me
It's always the
double check
last Sunday of the month, but this one particular, the last Sunday of the month is August 31st, the last day of the
Okay.
month. Yeah. Good food, great movies. We've had some really good ones. Of course, we've had, double bookings and some bad stuff too, right? But it happens every year. But we're gonna get rabbit proof fence too, because every time we fucking try to get that one, that's when something happens. Sick, surgery, and then a double booking. It's like, oh my goodness.
Oh dear.
Me too. So there is no, hold on a second here. The next one on the agenda, which was at the end, is the Treasury Report, which nothing has changed, but I'll get the exact it's the same. There we go. Oh, our main checking and savings account. See if I do it at 1,300. Oh, 1,000. Oh, hold on. Actually, hold on one second. Sorry about that. If you would like to hear how much money we raised and what it is, you can come to a meeting. They're open to the public. But that was the ending. Everything else was a not necessarily closed, unrecorded session. And I'm Vicente Cruz, Oakland Greens event and fundraising coordinator. And we will see you at movie nights. Thanks, everybody. Peace out, y'all.
All right, I'll call you Vicente.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.